And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thompson. 100% agree. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big Sean McCarthy.
Well, hello to everyone and welcome to the Weighing In podcast. My man there, Josh Thompson, is ready to just sling all kinds of verbiage towards you. Now, it won't make sense, and that's okay because that's the way it always is. He's trying to talk about how good looking he is. That's why he was touching his hair. Yes. We all know. Getting wrinkled, getting gray, and I'm not talking about me.
Oh, man.
What's up, baby?
John looks like an overgrown Shar-Pei.
Oh, dude, I am. I'm like a dude. It's what me and a Shar-Pei puppy have in common.
Yes.
Wrinkles and folds.
You know, I got to be honest, though. For someone who's almost 80, you do look good, though, still. You do.
Thank you.
You know,
Hey, come on. You got. When we were in California, I had women saying, "No, you're not that old." Right?
Oh, I know. But they were also blind, so they didn't really know.
No, they were not blind.
They had to go based off your voice, and then they said it was kind of sounded younger and this and that. But
they didn't know your age either.
Well, you started the carnivore diet,
which means you might be right. They might have been blind.
Yeah. But you started the carnivore diet, and since you started the carnivore diet, you started at the CBS Bellator show, correct?
Yep.
Like the week after.
Just before. Yeah.
Oh, just before.
Yeah.
And you lost a lot of weight. What, 25, 30 pounds?
30-some pounds.
30-something pounds. And you look good, man.
I need to.
You look good. I'd be a little scared, like in the beginning, you know, if it's clogging up the poopage a little bit, but
it doesn't do that.
But you said it doesn't. And then I listened to a little bit of Rogan when he had talked about it. He's like, oh no, it actually does the opposite. It kind of flushes you through.
Can at times.
So
it's good. You know, it's the best part about first off, life is a pain in the ass as far as, you know, meals and things like that when you're on a diet.
Yeah.
Especially when you're like traveling and flying and stuff. It makes it really easy because it's like, I can't have that. Can't have it. And I know I'll wait until, you know, I get to some place that I can get something that I can eat. It just makes it easy.
But pretty much everywhere has a steak or a chicken or
hamburger,
or hamburger,
pork chop or something.
But the hamburger, just the patty, like that's all you need. Like I just need the hamburger patty or a pork chop, you know. And you can do eggs also. That to me is key.
Oh yeah,
I have to do eggs, man. Like
dude,
eggs.
That was one of the first things I looked at. I said, "Oh, I can do eggs." Okay.
Yeah, because I'll eat on the average. I probably eat anywhere between 6 to 8 eggs a day. Yeah. I don't know what it is. The eggs are just my thing, you know. But here's the thing. I can get away without like the potatoes and you know, and all the carbs and shit. But man, I love veggies. I'm a veggie guy. I love
I agree.
Veggies.
You
know, that's
don't,
the hard part for me.
It's funny because you say that and I believe you totally. And I'll sit there and say, I'm not a real veggie guy, so it'd be easy. And then you look and you go, man, I'd really like to have those vegetables right there, or onions or whatever it is. It's like, but
I know.
It's all right.
Like I love me some raw onions. And I hate cooked onions, but I love raw onions.
I like any kind of onion.
And I love broccoli. I'm a big broccoli person.
Same
you
thing.
Get that Romanesca broccoli versus the regular broccoli. That fucking, it's fucking.
Or broccolini.
Broccolini. I can do some broccolini. I mean, I don't know, man. I got to have some veggies with it. Nothing wrong with that. I get it.
You don't have
but I know you don't have to. You want it.
Which is,
I do.
But see, okay, so it doesn't matter. I think I don't care if you're on a diet. The real thing is processed foods. Stay away from processed foods. Yeah. You know, if you're eating something that lives on the land or comes from the land, you're good.
You know what? For me, one of my biggest things is to stay away from things that are just soaked in sauce. I can't do that shit, man. Ugh, I get grossed out. Like we went to the noodle shop, whatever there, and that shit was just soaked in sauce, and I just ate the meat out of it, and I was like, ugh. And I really wanted the bell peppers because they were crispy, but they were just soaked and drenched in the sauce, and I'm like, ugh, I didn't even eat them, man. I wanted to, but I just didn't because I can't get things with sauce. When I go to places with the steak, do you want it in the Jack Daniels, you know, barbecue something? No, don't put it on there.
I want a steak.
You know, your pork chop. With your pork chop, do you want it with the mandarin sauce? No,
you can put Cajun seasoning on it. That's about it.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I don't want it with anything. I just want it the way it is. And if you guys can't make it taste good with just salt and pepper, then I don't want your steak. Like, I don't know. It's maybe I'm just super high maintenance when it comes to that type of shit.
That's not high maintenance. That's pretty low maintenance. That's how you make a steak.
Yeah, I don't put a lot of shit on my steak, man. I'll sometimes melt some butter and I'll kind of
See now garlic butter
pour over the
on
butter.
top of
Garlic.
it.
Yeah, you can do
Rosemary.
garlic butter.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, I've gotten into this blue cheese a little bit. The blue cheese crumbles
blue
over
cheese
the
crumbles on
over
it?
a fillet. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know who got me into that was Rockhold, man. Luke Rockhold. He can cook.
Oh yeah.
He can cook. He cooks all of his own shit. I know that when he was in camp, he would sometimes fly out Dan Leith, who was a nutritionist, and a lot of the AKA guys used him. I used him for a bunch of fights, but he got that I think from Dan Leith, and Dan just, man, he could cook. But Luke kind of got me into it with the blue cheese crumbles. No, I fell in love with it, man. So I'll do a little blue cheese over the fillet. You know, salt and pepper fillet with a little bit of blue cheese on there.
Well, see, you know, I live. My daughter lives right down from me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's the one that's cooking all my meals because she's a culinary chef. Man, it's hard to get away from going anywhere when home has got unbelievable cooking. She makes me like, she said, "Is this enough?" And it's like, yeah. It's like crazy.
So I have a family that is, I consider like my own family, and they live in Panama now, but they lived up in North Idaho. They're from LA area originally. And then I was best friends with their son. And the husband, it was like, I look at him like a father to me. And obviously the wife is also like a mother to me, but they helped me a lot when I was in high school. And even when I got out of high school, helped me through a lot of adversity and stuff. But it's funny. We used to always eat at their house after whether soccer practice, wrestling practice, whatever, hanging out on the weekends. The dad was always barbecuing, and I call him Papa Bill. And Bill would always barbecue. And he fucking could barbecue, man. Like he'd wrap the fillets, you know, and he'd tie them up and he'd sear them a little bit here, sear them a little, and it was so good, damn good. A little bit of salt and pepper, sometimes a little glaze over it, but fantastic. And I would always like, man, how come we don't go, like, we should all go out to eat? And he's like, why? He's like, I know how I like my steak. He's like, and I'm going to go pay $80 for a steak down there when I can make it the way I want right here at home. And I'm like, it changed my whole way of thinking.
That's true.
And I always thought I had to go to like Morton's, or I had to go to like Ruth's Chris, or I had to go to, you know, some fancy steak place. And John, you know, we've all around the world that you and I have traveled, we've been in some really damn good steak places. Like that place in Chicago that Alex Witt took us to from Battle Bars.
God bless Alex.
Alex, fantastic in Chicago. It was like, I can't remember what it was called. It's like, I can't remember what it was called, but it was a fantastic steak place. And they had a really good old fashioned as well. But damn, it was a little salty for me, but you guys like a little salt, a little too salty for me. It was damn good though. But we've been all around the world and had some really good steaks.
Starts with a P. I just can't remember what the hell it was.
Yeah. Gibson's was one of my favorites in Chicago.
I love Gibson's in Chicago. It's great.
It was called
Premium Provisions.
Prime and Provisions.
That's it.
That's what it was. It was Prime and Provisions.
Prime and Provisions.
Yep.
That
Fantastic
was
place.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was really good. The setting was nice. The food was good. The company was great too.
Yep.
It was really good, man. I was pretty happy with it. But in Gibson's is really good as well.
And there's
Gibson's,
your old fashioned right there. Look at that. See, boom,
Yep.
they're showing.
And Gibson's, you pay for more of the ambiance of the history of being at Gibson's, you know, down in downtown. I think it's right there off of Washington. But a beautiful place. Great places. But when you realize you know how to make your own steak, you can smoke it. Like I got a green egg, so I smoke all my steaks on my green egg.
The big green egg.
Yep, I got the big green egg, and I've got a gas burner next to it also, and then I've also got a nice burner that I can actually do big soup pots in and stuff. So it's pretty nice, man. I love to have my little setup. I need to get something. I need to get a Traeger, a little side Traeger.
I have a Traeger. Love
that I
my
can do.
Traeger.
I know, man. I got to get one.
Fantastic. You know, when Jen Brown was with us, I taught her how to, because we were talking about steaks, and I go, my biggest problem, and my wife will tell you, she would rather have me cook her a steak than anyone else because, but all I use is salt, pepper, and butter. But
My wife's kind of biased, though. She's very biased when it
she's
comes
smart.
to you.
She's very smart. So, anyways, you know,
John, she's been married to you for what, 38 years now?
Yeah, not that smart. But I showed her how to make one, right? And she, you know, all of a sudden she's sending me videos of, is this it? There you go. And, you know, and it's all about searing, knowing how to sear the steak. You should oven cook a steak first because it changes the, you know, there's a whole molecular structure of the meat and what it does when you break it down and doing the hot sear and everything. Man, you reverse, it's called a reverse sear. It is the best way to have a steak.
Well, you also got to have to have really good cast iron skillet. You've got to have one of those. You know, and not many people.
And don't take all the seasoning out of it.
No, you don't really wash it. You just rinse it, put some coconut oil in it after you rinse it out a little bit, and just use a towel and damp it. You just kind of touch it with it and dry it out a little bit that way, and then put some coconut oil or whatever seasoning you want or butter back in there a little bit and let it sit. Yep. Very light glaze over the top. Anyways, enough about the food because I'm getting hungry.
Thank you.
Let's talk about some fights. We got some good fights coming up. Another pay-per-view within like 3 or 4 weeks, which means my pocketbook's getting strained a little bit.
Tired of this.
Yeah, I'm getting a little frustrated with this.
A lot of money, and I'm getting nothing but heartache from Mrs. McCarthy. She's starting to yell at me.
Well, John, I honestly believe with the acquisition of WWE, who got away from the pay-per-view model for a while. Am I right there, Dave?
WWE fans are going to be really pissed. You watch.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, it's app-based. So they did the WWE network for a few years, and then they moved it to Peacock. So it was app-based, which I guess is not technically pay-per-view.
Yeah, but then Peacock, their deal is supposed to be coming up, I think, within a year or whatever, maybe 2, but I think a year. And once that deal is done, I think they'll move off of Peacock, get back into the pay-per-view model. And I think you're going to see the two of these companies start to raise their price on pay-per-views. You can see all the way up to, I think, $90, $89 per pay-per-view.
Hell, they're almost there now.
For sure with WrestleMania.
$84.90.
Well, here's the thing. They may not go pay-per-view. I'm going to say they may end up doing something like this. I know we're getting off topic. I know we're supposed to talk about the fights, since we're kind of already on this a little bit, John, maybe let's just do the news up front and we'll talk about the card.
Yeah, for sure. We can do the deal for Eandeavor and UFC.
Let's just talk. I want to just talk about this for once. It's going kind of fresh in my mind. Is that if I think what they're going to look to do is take the two of these, John. You're going to take the UFC and you're going to take WWE. And as soon as their deal with Peacock expires and the ESPN deal expires, I think they're going to shop both of these to like Apple, to Amazon, and they're going to take that deal to them and say, hey, I think both of these units together can be packaged. You guys will have exclusive rights for an annual or maybe even longer rights than that. But then I think they'll get anywhere between $4 to $6 billion. Because if you think about it, right, the NFL for 10 shitty-ass NFL games on Thursday night. $1 billion for 10 shitty-ass games.
And you think, Josh, that's $100 million per game.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But and it is the real question here is like Eandeavor is going to have, a fantastic, product, if you want to say, that's obviously different shows and everything, but they're in control of the two biggest types of fighting or sports entertainment with the WWE. But the real question is this. ESPN has turned away WWE multiple times because there was a thing about, would they do it? Would they not? And they never did it, and you got to figure the WWE's been on USA, all the different networks there are out there. And then finally Fox. The UFC's been good for ESPN, but the ESPN's been great for the UFC also. The deal they had with the pay-per-views and everything, it kind of changed the way that they could look at their contracts and what they, needed as far as making certain fighters happy and stuff. It was not near as critical because they were guaranteed a certain amount of money. Well, now if they do try to shop these two together, is it really taking ESPN out of the equation? Because ESPN's been great for the UFC. Fantastic.
I don't think it does. I think the ESPN will be more like-minded and open-minded to this situation.
You think so?
I really believe so. I know that it's not considered a legitimate sport, but I do believe the numbers, and that money speaks. I think because they're packaging them together, that I think, and look, and ESPN actually had a lot of coverage of this leading up to this WrestleMania. They were talking about it a little bit on ESPN.
They talk about it every now and little things.
Yeah,
they do.
But that's not something they've done. I think that they're hoping, that to be in the conversation when it comes to restructuring the deal. Once they're off Peacock, the WWE, and once ESPN's deal with the UFC is up, they want to try to probably package it together through Eandeavor and see what they can do, what numbers they can come up with. But I really believe, obviously, Ari's a very smart person, and he's done a fantastic job with not just the UFC, but also with the WWE now coming up. They expect him to do big things with this. But I look at him shopping it to companies like Apple, companies like Amazon.
Amazon and Apple are the two that I thought right away that's where he's going to look and say.
You say that, John, but I think here's the other thing. Don't expect, or you should expect, companies like YouTube. YouTube has their own TV as well. People forget that.
Yeah.
They've got all the sports stuff on there. Don't expect them not to be in the market, because they were in the market, I believe, for Thursday and Sunday night football, or maybe it was just Sunday. Yeah, they were in the market for that, and they had came up with some big numbers, and they were close to getting it. So I wonder if they're going to end up going full-fledged on the UFC and going full-fledged on the WWE, packaging it together. And I could see them getting anywhere between $4 to $6 billion in that market there. I don't know. It really just depends. I mean, the two together, I would say for $4 to $6 billion, I would say probably a 2-year deal.
2 years?
Yeah.
That's $3 billion a year.
Yeah, I think so.
Holy
I mean, that's if you pay. Yeah, I think maybe even more, to be honest, if you're going to package it. And I'm just giving you numbers off the top of my head, and everyone knows I'm not good at math if you guys watch this show. So, but John, you know how I am with my money. I'm very frugal with shit.
So you're not bad with your money.
I'm cheap. I'm cheap when it comes to certain stuff.
We didn't talk about cheap. We said
except for buying drinks at fucking hotels in San Jose. Jesus.
Holy shit, dude! It's no better in frickin' Pachanga.
Oh, it was horrible.
Dude,
it was horrible.
$100 for 3 drinks.
I know. It was, like I said, I bought here in San Jose at the hotel. I bought 15 drinks, and it was $600. Insane.
I told you one time I was in New York and I bought a round of drinks for, the crew. Talking 6 drinks, $380.
Yeah,
that's like, okay, that's it.
I get so used to when we're at Mohegan Sun, or where we're at in St. Louis, or wherever we're at.
You mean a reasonable place?
Yeah, and you go and you buy drinks, and it's like, okay, $200 for say 13, 14 drinks of people, right? It's like 200, 220, somewhere in there all day long. Anyways, back to the Eandeavor. I think this to me is I think it's going to end up working out to be a really good deal. And I don't think not just for the WWE, UFC, and Eandeavor. I think for the fans, you're going to get some crossover. The UFC fighters will start to kind of cross over a little bit.
Believe that.
Not right away.
No.
Unless
it's someone who's up from the past. I can see a Cormier, getting his opportunity.
Absolutely.
He already reffed a fight, right?
Yeah,
so
he's real into it too.
Oh,
He's a
I know.
nerd
He
when it comes to
loves
him. King Mo, those guys, they're nerds when it comes to the WWE stuff.
Yep.
I can see some crossover, and I agree with you. More to say from the UFC fighters into the WWE. Absolutely, you're going to see some of that. You may see 1, maybe 2 somewhere down the line. Not now, of the WWE guys maybe trying to come in to the UFC. But I also think if that does happen, the UFC will definitely do a better job of trying to take care of them instead of what they did to CM Punk. They kind of threw him to the wolves a little bit. They gave him guys that could really fight.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but
I'm not going to go with you on that.
Really?
I'm not. Okay, all right, stop. I want you to
tell me
Sage
Northcutt can't fight?
Sage Northcutt never fought him.
Oh, who is
Mickey Gall?
Mickey Gall. Sorry, Mickey Gall.
No,
I forgot. Sage and Mickey fought.
I'm not. Mickey Gall had 1 professional fight.
Mm-hmm.
1.
He's pretty good now, though.
I'm not saying he's not.
Not a bad fighter.
You're absolutely right. I agree with you. But when Dana went and watched him in New Jersey, he gets on the mic and says, "Hey man, I'll take on your CM Punk." And so it's like, the kid's got 1 fight. Okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not like they took someone off the normal roster and put him against CM Punk.
Yeah.
It's just that, look, CM Punk is a great entertainer. Yeah. He's not a great fighter. There's just a difference.
Mm-hmm. I can agree with you on that. He is. He's a good entertainer. He's, wasn't meant for fighting, but I think you're going to see eventually down the line, you'll see some of those pro wrestlers, they will have a little itch that needs to be scratched and they want to give it a try. And I think the UFC will work around them a little bit.
Well, I don't think you have to work around too much because you have the same company with all those contracts. So you can go.
Well, you got to
There's
remember,
really not a whole lot you have to do.
Yeah, but they've got to be still kind of work
Well,
with each other.
and this is the whole thing. Well, in one aspect, anybody coming from the UFC has to be kind of protected if they go to the WWE, because it's the same thing as, okay, let's take a look at the real world. Cain Velasquez fights Brock Lesnar and destroys him. True, wins the championship in the UFC.
Yeah.
And as soon as he went to the WWE and they put Brock Lesnar across from him, what happened?
Yeah, Brock won.
Yeah. And so because they have the ability to predetermine who's going to win, if you're coming over there, you can't just let them ruin you.
No, I get it.
By doing that. Now, the same thing in reverse is if you're a WWE guy and you do go to the UFC, they can't put you against, they have to put you against, a guy like they did with CM Punk, a young guy, but it's going to be a real guy no matter what.
Yeah.
And how if you end up with the same result that Phil Brooks, CM Punk had in that, how bad does that hurt your character and your reputation in the WWE?
I mean, what happens if he gets a win?
Yeah, that's not happening.
John, you never
Stop.
know, man. That's the thing. You're taking the CM Punk situation.
Exactly.
And
Now,
realizing,
if you take someone that's like a Brock Lesnar, a Jake Hager, someone that's got an amateur wrestling background, different.
that's what I'm talking about.
But
I said down the line. I'm not talking about just a regular, normal pro wrestler. I'm talking about someone that actually has the itch to really want to fight, that maybe has a good wrestling
that has
background.
actual athletic
I wouldn't be
competition that
surprised.
is relative to fighting.
I wouldn't be surprised if you have Bo Nickel over there in the WWE, right? He's going to want to go over there. Now, if he has friends that maybe are, that are in the WWE, want to try to make their way over. I mean, like you have Shayna Baszler was over there, right? Like you've got, there could be some crossover. That's what my point is.
Absolutely there could be.
I think you're too stuck on just one person. I'm thinking someone that has some experience, that had wrestling background or maybe some Taekwondo style background, whatever it is. They've got some sort of athleticism. That group of WWE stars, they're athletic as hell.
Oh, absolutely.
And so they can make the transition with, say, a year or two of them getting the itch.
Ronda could come back and fight.
No, she could.
Yes, she could.
No, she's done.
No, she could.
John, she's done.
I didn't say that. She could.
John, she's done. Bro.
She could.
John, let her live her life on the farm. Bro.
I am letting her. I love Browsy Acres.
Yeah, Browsy
but she
Acres.
could.
Okay. So that being said, I think the potential of that crossover back and forth could be there. Not so much from the WWE to the UFC. Okay. But then also, let's not forget, wherever the UFC goes in terms of height, it helps the sport of MMA. Whether it's the smaller shows below it could be Bellator, it could be PFL, it could be One, it could be any other organization. It gets more eyeballs on the sport.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
The growth of the UFC, having their fighters available over there in the WWE to get more notoriety amongst the casual fans of WWE stars or fan base, will help grow the UFC exponentially.
But
I think
in reality, also, it can also cause problems for them. Okay, let's
explain to me how.
Okay, the PFL is on ESPN, right? Now, if ESPN brings over not only the UFC but the WWE with it, think of the money output. So the PFL, who has been putting together these shows and trying to, take steps in that direction to get a better contract, because they don't have a great contract with ESPN, but to get a better contract now, it might actually, that won't happen. So that hurts the promotion. Because the promotion needs money from those TV contracts.
Yeah. No, I do understand what you're saying. And the other thing, though, is that I think if they do shop them to ESPN and ESPN does pick them up, I can't imagine, because the UFC's actually been trying to get rid of PFL off the network for a while since they originally kind of were put on. ESPN had just told them, nah, we're not doing that. Because they want to have their little bubble on their app that says MMA. It says it's the MMA. It doesn't say UFC. It says mixed martial arts, their little bubble there. That you can click on for the sport. They wanted to have that, no different than college basketball and NBA basketball. Excuse me, I had to get a drink.
Excuse me.
But
so what are you trying to get at? Are they going to?
I think that no. My thought is that as the UFC grows and gets bigger, it will help all the other organizations, I think, get bigger as well. It'll bring more publicity to all the other organizations. Now, PFL is in a weird circumstance because they are on ESPN's app. They are.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens and how that all plays out. You did bring up, or I did bring up, one of us brought up Cain Velasquez.
I did.
Cain Velasquez is been in the gym for the last couple months, helping to coach all the AKA fighters. He looks fantastic in the gym. I know that he's 40 years old, but in any weight class, because I always knock on heavyweights, but in any weight class, heavyweights have a longer career. True. And Cain Velasquez, I could potentially see him come back to the UFC and the WWE. He had a contract with the WWE. He was doing some stuff with them on the side, for a while. He was in their camp, training, getting ready for that. Then COVID hit. And they had to separate ways because they just didn't have the funding to basically carry all the guys that were working their way up.
Yeah, it's understandable.
And Cain still has a decent relationship, I believe, a pretty good one actually, still with the UFC. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Cain come back and do both things. Just my thought. I mean, he looks fantastic in the gym. Watching him train a little bit. I know he's just drilling. I know he's just going through the techniques.
The problem is, as soon as he starts, we'll say he does, and here comes camp. We've seen as he's gotten older, he's gotten more brittle.
No, he has, but I also think that he's also now understands when to dial it back a little bit.
Okay, that's good.
When you're younger.
That was always the problem. He just went balls to the wall.
Didn't know how to do it any other way.
Repractice. You can't do that. Not at 40.
Well, I think the understanding though too is that his focus is just being in the gym as much as he can and focusing on, providing. That's it, man. He's got a lot of things ahead of him, but he's got this as something that I could see potentially him making a run back. Plus, you look at that heavyweight division outside of John Jones, I don't think any of them guys are beating him. I mean, give him a fight or two to get back in the stride.
You don't want to
I'm not saying we're not just jumping him back in there, guys. Give him some time. He's been out for over 5 years. But I look at that. I look at the guys that are there. None of them can stop his wrestling. None of them.
John could.
And Curtis Blades. John could. I think, John could. Okay. Curtis Blades probably could.
Yeah.
You've got those two guys, but you look at the other guys, I don't really see, Jorginho, who's a big Volkov, all those guys, they're not stopping his aggressiveness and his takedowns. No. And I'm not being a homer. I'm saying if he's a fraction, if he's 80% of what he was,
and I'm telling you now, they're not going to stop his.
Yeah, they're not stopping his wrestling. The guy can wrestle.
And the best part about his wrestling is with the use of his hands, because he actually has good hands. Mm-hmm. It's hard to stop his wrestling because you're trying to block his shots, and then all of a sudden he's in on you. And he's got a gas tank. He's got great kicks. He's got a gas tank like no other heavyweight. Oh.
John, it's hilarious to watch these kids that have been training the whole time he's been away. And he comes in like straight off the fucking couch and just working them and mopping them over. And these kids are fighting. They're pro and they're all heavyweights. Yeah. And he's just sitting under their hip. He's chasing the neck. He's pushing their face into the mat. I'm like, Jesus.
Wrong.
I feel like I'm watching Bully beat down. Oh, it's just great. If you guys all follow American Kickboxing Academy on Instagram, you guys will see the footage and the video footage that they post up all the time of him coaching, of him wrestling, of him showing techniques, of him throwing people around. Fuck, he's a great follow, man. Love watching him. I think it's good for the sport. I could be wrong. The future will tell.
I don't think it's going to be.
I don't think it's going to be bad for the sport. I think it's going to open up some doors that maybe, it may shut some doors on some of the smaller promotions for them to get more publicity in certain areas. And networks may be a little bit more hesitant to say like, okay, look, now with the two of them really kind of taking over this position here, you never know. Then some networks might be like, oh, well, But I think that there's always going to be something with the way, there's always going to be on these apps, whether it's Paramount Plus, whether it's CBS, whether it's Amazon, whether it's whatever. All these apps, they need content.
It might be multiples though.
Yeah, I think it might. Peacock, they need content. Hulu, they need content. All of these companies need content.
Here's the thing to think about. Really, when you look at it, it's and I used to say it with Lorenzo Fertitta. Look, he's a smart businessman. Ari Emanuel, smart businessman.
Absolutely.
And when you take a look at when he bought IMG. A lot of people went, oh, no, that's way too much money. He made it work, and he made money off of it, and he made his investors money off of it. And then when he bought the UFC, we all said, man, $4.2 billion. I think that's
way overpaid.
Way overpaid.
Way overpaid.
We thought, and there was the estimates of doubled, could have been over double. Way overpaid. Well, he proved everybody wrong because He's made that, and he's made so much money off of it for his investors and everything. So I look and I go, hey, the guy's a proven winner when it comes to making these deals and making them bigger than ever. So that's what I think is going to happen here. He's going to make it bigger than ever.
Well, John, here's the thing. COVID was a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
It was a curse based on the fact that they could have killed their own business by succumbing to what everyone was telling them to do. But they didn't. They kept their fighters active. They didn't fire one employee. They stayed the course. Sure, they sat out, I think, for one of the fights, right? Like one fight they shut down was the one at the casino that they were supposed to do. And I think Disney called and said no. Or I think it was actually
okay. And this is the one that got me in trouble with Dana as far as, on his thing, him saying, that I was saying that I was all for them fighting. What I was not for them doing was what Dana was going to do there, and that he was bypassing the athletic commission, which was setting a precedence. And I go, you don't want to do that, because now you're creating it's almost like a hostile work environment. And it's just to put on one show. You're making a mistake. Don't do it. And Disney came in with ESPN and said, okay, we're going to shut this one down. And they went to a place, in Jacksonville, Florida, where the commission was there for them. And it was like, do it, man. I'm 100% behind you. But that was the one show that they turned, I think that's the second show ever that they actually shut down. 151. Remember when Hendo was going to fight John Jones? That one shut down too.
Well, from what I understand, because I live here in California, was that Gavin Newsom had made a phone call to whoever represents Disney. Yeah. And then Disney made the phone call and said, hey, this needs to be stopped. Yeah. So they stopped it. And then within weeks later, they had their next show.
Yep.
But they could have been rolled over by then and been like, hey, you know what? We're going to just keep stalling this out. I was under the same thing, like, hey, I feel like they're really pushing this a little bit too much. Why don't you give it a week or two to see how this, because remember, it was only supposed to be 2 weeks to flatten the curve.
That's it.
Yeah. So I think all of us were like, you know what? Maybe we are putting a little bit of a rush on this. Let's see what happens in 2 weeks and then go back to the drawing board and start getting people taken care of. I mean, you can't be mad at the way that they handled it. A lot of people I know probably were
mad,
but yeah, look, you gotta keep people employed. The takeaway from now on, from you look back, the takeaway is fuck. I didn't want to get into it. Let's move. But I think overall, the combination between these two companies joining together, I'm interested to see more where the TV rights go at the end of the day. That's what I think. That's what interests me the most. Is to see how they package this deal up and take it to like an Apple or an Amazon Prime or ESPN. I would love to see it stay on ESPN.
We're gonna find out.
ESPN to me is the easiest way. Like for me,
ESPN to me is the one for the UFC. It's the place for them to be, because ESPN is on in bars, across the country, TSN in Canada. It's all the same. It's always on, and it's always showing their product, and that helps the product. So I would say if they leave ESPN, seems to me to be a mistake, but what the fuck do I know?
Yeah, I do wonder though, because Dave, you would speak more on this. WWE had their own platform, correct?
Yeah. WWE Network.
What was it called?
WWE Network.
WWE Network.
And how much? How much was it for you to have that?
$9.99 a month.
$9.99. So it's like UFC Fight Pass.
Okay, so that's
and then you got all the shows, right?
Yeah, all the WWE shows. Yeah.
So let me ask you this: do you merge the two, the WWE one and the UFC Fight Pass, and they're both owned by? They're both owned by
the same company.
Yeah. Then do you merge the two and all their connections and just basically have your own network now for just that? That's a question. I don't even know if it's something you can do.
Nope.
Supposedly, the idea with them going to Peacock from the app was that they just couldn't get the app to as big as they thought they would, and then going to Peacock, they were guaranteeing themselves so many new viewers because getting put in front of people and all that. So there's something to be said about being on an app where people are already going for other content, because now you've got an opportunity to be in front of people. Yeah,
what people don't understand is how difficult it is to start your own process, like your own. Yeah, everyone thinks like, oh yeah, just do it yourself. You guys are so big. No, you're huge, right? But like you look at certain apps, or I look at Paramount Plus, right? The Yellowstone, 1893 or whatever, 1883, and then what's the other one they're doing now? And then those three shows are kind of what's holding that Paramount. They're holding it up, and I mean, like those three shows are really keeping that.
But it also took a while because Yellowstone didn't just, instant. No, it took a while.
Yeah. So interesting. I'm interested to see where this really goes. I mean, it's a kind of exciting, kind of nerve wracking a little bit, but I think it'll be. I think in the long run, it'll be good for the sport, the overall sport of MMA. All right, well, let's get into the fights. So we're going to have a pay-per-view this weekend, but before we get into the fights, John, let's go OnlyFans. OnlyFans.com/weighing in. We've got a really cool thing coming out this weekend on the pay-per-view that we did for some friends. No, I know it's not for OnlyFans. Dave, let me finish, buddy.
Let me screw this pooch.
Yeah, let me screw this pooch. But the OnlyFans is like I said, we have done some big things with them. They've done some big things with us in terms of we're the first podcast that they're representing, or we're representing them. We're the first podcast that they've signed to work with, and we're representing athletes all around. And this last weekend when we were in Pechanga, man, I had so many fighters come up and just say, hey, like, what's your deal with them? How are you guys doing? Like, what do you guys think? And I'm like, look, so far they've been fantastic to work with. But what I do like is this, John, is that because everything that's going on right now, I don't know if you guys saw what I posted today on my Instagram. It was at the Real Punk on Instagram. Is that Instagram charges $15 for a blue check mark now. I didn't know that. I don't. Yeah, so they're charging people blue. They're charging them for a blue check mark $15. They sold 44 million of them in one day. That's $660 million that they made in 24 hours. And I go, look, this is, to me, I think for social media, one of my problems with social media is that anyone can just create an account and say they're you. Now, sure, there's I have a verified account, but people still create accounts that use
but
says
you won't.
at the Real Punk. Who cares? So anyways, I don't pay for it though, John.
I know.
Like,
well, you might if you're going to.
No, whatever. I'm not going to pay for it.
I'd rather not.
I'd rather not be verified, and I'm fine with that. It is what it is. Not a big deal. But what I like though, when we signed up for OF, right? We signed up for OnlyFans, is that you have to do a facial recognition. And we're like, oh man, but now that's your privacy. You guys have already used your facial recognition for your phone. You guys have already used your thumbprint.
So when you did your facial recognition on your phone, it stopped right there. It's only on your phone.
Yeah, I believe that. But as you guys recall, before the facial recognition on the phone was the thumbprint.
Yep.
So you had that. And everyone's like, oh, well, you're giving away your ID. You guys have already given it all away.
Yeah.
What do you like, I'm not on TikTok. That doesn't mean that China doesn't have everything on me already. You know what I mean? Like, so when I look at what we did on OnlyFans, like they did the facial recognition, so you can only have one account. Your account, even if it is a business account, is attached to your facial recognition.
I like that, because then you don't get these people with multiple accounts.
Thank you. Trying to spam your members, trying to spam your all the people that are that follow you and subscribe to you, trying to solicit to them, whether with scams. That is the number one complaint, I think, across the board on social media. I think if we really want to clean up the social media platforms, you really just need to get rid of the fact that you're able to have multiple accounts. It should be you under your one account. Therefore, everyone is verified with your facial recognition and your thumbprint or whatever it is you want to have. It's all connected to something. That's how you clean up that's how you clean up your social media. OF does that. I really appreciate that about them. I also like the fact that they're really trying to get into the sports industry. They're working with Formula One race car drivers. They're working with boxers. They're working with MMA fighters. They're really making their stamp in terms of sponsoring Bare Knuckle Boxing. They're sponsoring other MMA events. They're working their way to trying to bring in athletes to create more athlete connection with their fans. And that's what I'm looking forward to. Interaction. That's the word I'm looking for, John. And so this is a process that we've been working on now for what? It's been about 2 months now, coming up on our second month. And we're going to continue to do this. And so hopefully you guys will join us over at onlyfans.com/weighing-in. It's free. Subscription's free. We're going to put out some content that we may charge for, we may not. But right now, we're just doing everything for free over there, and you guys. And we're going to keep doing it. And we're enjoying doing this. And Dave's got a bunch of bloopers and stuff that he's going to be putting up of us. The off-camera bloopers that we don't let you guys see. I know. John's got a lot of bloopers. You guys don't realize. Dave makes John look really good. Now, he just keeps me the same. So he just leaves all this normal stuff in there. He's always making John look good.
My God. The way that you do lie with a straight face is really
scary,
impressive. Especially when you grab your glasses, because like now you have your glasses to like make yourself. It's like upping your IQ smart. At least 10 points, dude.
I wish I would have worn them when I was younger.
If I had to remove every single Josh blooper, I'd never get the show
out. Shit, man. All right, let's get into these fights. We've got UFC 287 pay-per-view this weekend. Pereira versus Adesanya 2, actually 5. But let's get into this. John, I'm looking at, I think Alex gets it done again. I think it'll potentially go the distance, but I think Alex gets it done again because I think he knows now. At any moment I could walk you down, land big strikes, and I could get you out of there. And he could change the tide of every round now, like he did in the last fight, in the end of the fight. He knows that if I just win the last minute and a half by walking you down, trying to land big strikes, I could do that. I could get this win that way.
Yeah, he could. But he needs to be careful still because if you go to that first fight, he got
second
rocked.
Round. First round or second round?
Second round, right at the end of the round. He got rocked. And if that fight or that round had more time, might not have been the result that we all saw in the fifth. Because it may never have gotten there. So yeah, he's got to have a more confident attitude going into this, even than he had in the first one. Because look, he knew he had his knockout performance in kickboxing. He had the decision. Okay, and that if it was a kickboxing match, he's going to go into the next one super confident. But it was MMA and it was different, and so now. I think he is going to be more confident. I always look and say, man, when you have a guy, what's the age difference on these guys right now? Because I think they're right the same, aren't they?
I think Pereira's
35.
35? And 33?
33.
Yeah. So it's close with that, but it's one of those, it has to, I don't care what anyone says, you get knocked out by someone in kickboxing, and then you get stopped in your MMA match, and you can sit there and say whatever you want about. I saw Izzy's, interview where you're saying, "Hey, I was looking at." No, you're not looking. You're looking at his feet. Okay, that's not looking at him. When your eyes are down and your head is down, that's not you looking at your opponent. That's not you seeing the damage that can be thrown. Because he was saying, well, if he had thrown any, I would have seen it. He might be right there. Because that's all he's going to see.
He could have been wondering if he was setting up the kick, John. He was looking at his feet.
Yeah. That's what happens when you get hurt and you get rocked. And, he was trying to move and all that. But it wasn't a bad stoppage. Could it have gone a little bit longer? Sure, possibly. But it was a good stoppage. Goddard did not do anything wrong in that fight. He, there was a point where it's like, hey, I have to protect you from yourself. And that's what I thought he did. And, Pereira, he's got power in his shots. And, man, if he touches you, I just look at this. It's got to be in the back of Izzy's mind, no matter what he says. Josh, when you get on a mic and you say stuff, you're going to say all kinds of stuff. But when you're by yourself and you're thinking about it, it's a different story because you know the thoughts that are going through your mind. And there is that thought he knows. Shit, I got to be careful of his power. I have to be careful of his power. I have to be careful. And when you have that in the back of your mind, it sometimes minimizes your ability to be offensive. I thought he had some good offense. I thought the takedown things, I don't think the takedowns are going to work for him in this fight. And I agree with you. I think that it's going to be a tough fight for him to get a win against Pereira.
Yeah, I think you're going to look at a repeat of what happened last time. I just think that he potentially could knock Izzy out even earlier.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I think now that he knows that, look, these gloves are small. I can get knocked out. He knows he can get knocked out. But Alex doesn't seem to give a shit.
No.
He's like, he's got 6 fights, John. What is it, 6? He's got 8. He's got 8 fights, 7-1.
Yeah.
He's got 8 fights. He's the fucking UFC champion.
8 fights in MMA.
That's
a lot of
8
fights.
That's I know, but that's
fights
still
in
8
MMA,
fights.
you're right.
That I mean, like when you mix in with wrestling, you can make the world class kickboxers look like amateurs.
Yeah.
You know, because they're afraid of the wrestling. And Izzy wrestled a little bit last time, and I think Alex can be a little bit more ready for it. He's got a full-time coach now in Glover, with someone that can really try to help him with his training, set up sparring sessions with other people, not just him. You know, he's got guys there. So, and he's just enormous for the weight.
Oh,
He's enormous.
dude, he's huge for the weight.
Walks around 230, 240,
He could
cuts
be a
down.
heavyweight. He could
You
be.
know, so I look at this fight. My only question is if Izzy does win, do we see it right away, the rematch?
Oh, God. Yes. Let's just be honest.
You'd be foolish not to.
It's one of these. Israel absolutely deserved the rematch. He had been a long-standing champion there.
Did he?
Yeah, he did. But I wish they didn't give it to him.
Yeah.
I wish they put him in a fight that he ended up performing well, and then go back to it. Okay, but you know, it is what it is, and it's, you know, he deserved it, so I don't have a problem with it, give it to it. But I would have personally, for him, I would have liked to see him have one fight before the rematch. But we'll
Here's the
find
thing.
out.
People recall that, like, we talk about certain fighters deserve certain rematches. Like, I didn't think that Weili Zhang deserved the automatic rematch.
She did not.
After she lost her title. She only had one title defense, and that was it. Like, she lost it. So, that fight, I didn't think so. But then you look at, like, they're going to say, oh, well, Izzy lost the same way, very similar to how Kamaru Usman lost. And I said, well, okay, look, both of them were definitely on their way to, but the history of Alex and Izzy plays a factor. Sure. Alex has beaten him this many times. Yep. With Kamaru, he deserved the rematch because it was a minute left, a minute 30 left or whatever in that fight. On top of that, he had already had the win over Leon from previously before, and was dominating rounds 2, 3, and 4, I think, if you had it the way that I had it against Leon in the second fight. That's why I would have given Kamaru the automatic rematch. He's got the history of dominating fighters from before. He's got the history of beating this fighter from before and was winning the fight up until this moment. Izzy, dominating all the fighters before, was winning this fight, but has lost to this fighter several times before. That is what changes. That's what makes the difference. Yeah, he had lost to him 3 times before. That, to me, is really that's what I would have based it off of. No, give him a second to get a win. Come back, fight if Alex is even still the champion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, yeah, but I think when you look at it, this was an opportunity for the UFC to really capitalize on money. Okay, look, he was losing the fight. Now I can say, hey, this is get the rematch. And I think if Alex does win or Alex does lose, I don't think they give Alex an automatic rematch.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so, which they should, depending on how he loses, but I think they should. Based on that, like, you've already got 4 wins over you. Why am I doing this? Like, I'm doing this 5th fight for you guys. Like, why are you giving an automatic rematch? I knocked him out twice out of the 4 times or 5 times we fought. I don't know. There's different ways of looking at it. I am pumped for the fight. I am excited to see another kickboxing fight. You don't have to worry about too much wrestling because they both will stand and they both will trade. I think if you take away from anything from the first fight for Izzy, use your speed, buddy. Straight punches, nothing rounding. Get there fast, get in and get out. Because if he touches you, you know you can go to sleep at any time. Just use your speed. It was the jab and the right hand and all the straight punches that got there first that hurt him in the second round. Yep. Next fight.
Gilbert Burns versus Game Bread Jorge Masvidal. I really like the matchup, but I don't. I know that Jorge has been really working on his wrestling, and that's good. His stand-up has always been sharp and clean, and the problem is Gilbert's not a wrestler, and he's a guy who will drop down because he is not worried about being underneath Masvidal. And if he can't get the fight to the ground with either a punch or a takedown, he'll dive into a half guard and pull him down and then start working that position. And he's good enough there that he can create some situational problems for Masvidal that he's going to end up possibly giving up position. And if he does, if Masvidal ends up on his back against Gilbert, you better hope there's not a lot of time on the clock, because it's not going to be good.
No, I understand that. I just think that Masvidal's wrestling is good enough to stop Gilbert's takedowns.
I agree with you.
There'll be sometimes I think where Gilbert will have to create something. If he's able to get to the back, he'll be able to jump to the back and try and pull him down that way, make him defend the chokes, and that's how they can end up on the ground. That's kind of the way that I see that fight, the takedown exchanges going. On the feet, George is obviously
slicker.
He's slicker, not faster though.
No.
Gilbert's going to be fast, but Gilbert leaves himself open. Gilbert has been knocked out. So is George. But when I look at probably the chin, I'm going to say George probably got a little bit better chin. He can take more shots. His history has shown that he'll take a shot to give a shot kind of thing. And he is slick on the feet. He'll make you miss. He'll make you pay. He's got very powerful kicks. He doesn't get enough credit for his kicks. He's one of the original guys that started the calf kick back in like 2007, 2008, 2009, sometime around there. If you guys go back and watch his fight with Gilbert Melendez, when he fought him in Strikeforce, he was doing calf kicks back then. And so, George, he's got to avoid being on the ground. He can't do what he did with Colby, where he just turns kind of in a turtle position and stands up from that position. He's got to defend the back. He's got to defend the back.
Colby's not a submission guy.
No.
Colby's a grinder.
Yeah.
Gilbert?
Yeah. Gilbert's going to chase those submissions quite a bit.
Yeah.
To the point of almost fatigue, though.
Yeah, could.
I mean, you got to remember, Masvidal did really well against Damian Maia, even though he got stuck on bottom quite a bit. But I mean, he did well in defending some of those takedowns early in the fight. And then once he lost one, he started losing them continuously. But that was back when he was younger. Also, I understand that. But Masvidal's got the power in the hands. He's very slick, very unorthodox, and doesn't get enough credit for his kicks. Gilbert, he's got the speed in the hands. He can put together a great combination. Leaves the chin a little high in the air still when he throws his combinations. He is available to get hit. But the jiu-jitsu, there's no way of just saying like, hey, like that George has a chance. On the ground, I'm gonna take it's all gonna be Gilbert on the ground. The availability for the submissions, all of those things going to be Gilbert. Yeah. It does shape up to be a little bit of a throwback style fight. Jiu-jitsu wrestler kind of versus stand-up anti-wrestler. It's a good fight. This fight coming up, though.
The next fight is the one that's going to, you want a barn burner. You want action. I believe this fight is going to be just action-packed. Rob Font against Adrian Yanez. This is going to be beautiful, in my opinion. The bantamweight fight with two guys in the stand-up. Look at Adrian Yanez is freaking good on his feet. If you take a look at his record, where did he get his losses? People taking him down. Well, Rob Font's not going to take him down, and so this should be just a fantastic matchup.
Yeah, I don't see how this fight hits the ground unless someone catches a kick and they fall down. When I talked to Rafael Stotts about Adrian Yanez, he goes, man, he's the real deal. He's fantastic. He's one of his main training partners now, living down by Houston. He's like, this kid is good. He is so good. He's like slick on the feet, good on the ground, good takedown defense. And Rob Font, man, he's fought higher level competition.
Yep.
But he also hasn't had success against a lot of the higher level competition. Yep. And so when you put those two things together, this is Yanez's fight for the taking. But Rob Font has a lot of room to gain and get back. If he gets back into the mix of this with a good win over Yanez, that puts him right back into the category of, hey, I want to start fighting the guys that are in the top 5.
It does, but if he loses it,
yeah,
it definitely really drops him down.
It definitely drops him down. So, but I can't imagine this not being a good fight.
No, that's a fantastic matchup. Off of that, you got before Kevin Holland versus Santiago Ponzinibbio. This one all depends on, in my opinion, Kevin Holland. How smart does he fight? And unfortunately, I don't want to say it, but I've watched Kevin, who I think is a really good fighter, be very much on the same track as a Michael Chandler at times. He wants to be more entertaining than he does get wins. And you got to get wins, man. And he has the talent to do that. He's got good speed. His stand-up is actually pretty sharp. He's got a very good ground game. If you're going to say what's his weakest area, it's wrestling. Well, that's not something that he really has to worry about with Ponzinibbio, because Ponzinibbio is a striker. He's a guy that wants to stand and bang. And so Kevin has the ability to stand and bang with him. He also has the ability to get the takedown and be in the top position and use a damn ground game that he's a Travis Lutter black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's got a good ground game. Use it.
Yeah, here's the thing, though. The difference between Chandler and Kevin Holland is that Chandler, when he loses to guys that are ranked 2 and 3. You know what I mean? Like, that's the difference. Kevin Holland's losing to guys that were ranked still in the top 10.
Yeah,
but
6 and 7.
But the potential of winning and beating them, but decides not to. Now, I've said that Chandler probably has the worst fight IQ in the game. But Kevin's right up there with him.
Oh, yeah, that's my problem.
Oh, right up there with him.
Yeah.
You know, but Kevin's, he's fun. He's great to watch. Ponzinibbio is not going to threaten really a whole lot of takedowns at all. He'll stand with him. He'll trade with him. Kevin Holland can make this an easier fight with a takedown, threaten submissions, try to get to the top, use his body and his length and his reach, all of those things to control the top game, as well as keep him at bay until he rushes in and then get the easy takedown. You just don't know which Kevin Holland's going to show up.
That's it.
The one that's going to fight smart and try to get a win, or the one that's going to be like, you know what, let me just bite down on this mouthpiece and let's fight. We'll see. The thing with Ponzinibbio, though, is that he's not a fast and slick fighter like Stephen Thompson.
No.
So he's going to be there to hit, and that may bring Kevin Holland into more of a brawl. Like, hey, you know I'm going to stand with you. You know I'm going to stand with, and he's going to stand with me. I'm just going to stand in front of you, and we're going to trade. I mean, it can be fun for the rest of us, but you never know how it's going to turn out. Next.
Raul Rosas Jr. against Christian Rodriguez. This is the young man. Is he still 18 or is he 19 now?
I think he's 19 now.
Is he 19 now?
I think so.
Look, he's got skill. The kid's good, but they're definitely fast tracking him. You're taking a look that this is on the main card. This is his second fight in the UFC, coming off of the Dana White Contenders Series, and I just hope they're not pushing him too fast.
Is this his second or his third?
This is his second.
Is it? I thought it was his third.
Contender before that.
Yeah, it was Dana White Contender.
Yeah, it was. You're right. Yeah. I like the kid.
Oh yeah.
I get concerned when you start putting him on the main card.
There's just a difference between. Do me a favor. Look up Christian Rodriguez. I want to see his age real quick. And this is the real difference when sometimes you look at something. 25 years old, and there is a difference as you age in just physical strength, the ability to do certain things. It's not that the young person can't be really good at it. It's just that sometimes it's like when you're in college and you're in wrestling, and all of a sudden you're wrestling the senior, or you're playing whatever sport it is, and now you're the freshman and there's the senior. You're at a disadvantage usually, and sometimes it's a mentality aspect. Yeah. I obviously think that Rosas has got skill. I think he's a tough kid. I think he believes in himself, and that's a huge part of it, is that confidence. But there's going to be that time when it's going to show as far as the age, because there's only so many things you could have done within that age.
Yeah.
So
there's a reation why they don't let college kids that play football go straight to the pros. Not college, sorry, high school kids. High school kids. They have to go play in college before they can go to the pros. Which is smart. Yeah. And you look at other sports where they allowed them to go straight to the pros. Kobe Bryant, LeBron James. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're still tall, big, but they're not they're not fully grown into their body. But basketball also doesn't take the damage that football players do. Well, we are in a sport where
football players don't take the damage that fighters take.
Exactly. I mean, they could.
Nope.
They could. Not brain damage.
Yes, they can.
Damage. Yeah, brain damage for sure.
Yes, they can.
But their bodies will take a beating, the football players and fighters.
Sure.
But it's one-on-one. Football, you can, maneuver around. Hopefully don't get rolled up on or something like that, or take too many big hits by guys that are 300 pounds. But like I said, you haven't fully grown into your body leaving high school, and then that's why you go into college and you play with kids that are supposed to be equally your size or equally around your size, definitely in your age. You're not playing against fucking Ray Lewis, you know?
Well, you say that, and it's people, but people have no concept because there's differences when you look at certain people and their ability to deliver a blow. No different than what why was it that, Ali could punch, and when he set his feet, he had some power, but never had that, tremendous knockout power like a George Foreman or a Ernie Shavers. Some people just have that, and you take a look and man, it's like, hey, when I don't know, Ray Lewis, I was watching, they had Chad Ochocinco, remember him with the Cincinnati Bengals? And he does a crackback block where he thinks that he's got Ray Lewis blindsided. And Ray turns just as he's coming into him. And they hit, and Chad Ochocinco, he just goes down, and he's hurt. Chad Johnson is hurt. And Ray goes running after the ball and is going to make the tackle. And he's down for a while. Then he gets up and he goes over to the sideline. He goes, I'm hurt. And you go, yeah, I'm sure you are. And he goes, I thought I had him blindsided. He goes, didn't work. That was a mistake.
Yeah.
It's it's a mistake.
Because they had him mic'd up, so then you could hear what he said on the sideline. It was pretty awesome.
Oh, it was great. Not great if you were him, but it was great for us.
Yeah, so and there's that 25, 26, 27 is when you kind of start to become a man. Your brain's also starting to fully get developed.
Yep.
For some of us.
Just physically, you're maturing, and it's just you're faster, bigger, stronger.
Yeah. But do you feel like you're getting a slap in the face if you're Chris Curtis and Kelvin Gastelum?
Absolutely.
Former title contender. Kelvin Gastelum.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no way you can look at that and go, really, you're gonna put a kid who's 7-0 at 19 years of age, and he's on your main card, and with the records and things that we've done, we're not. Come on, you take a look and you go, yeah, it's there, but that's what they're doing is they're picking this kid as, hey, we think that he could possibly be something of our future, and we're going to start pushing him now. And hey, if that's the way they feel, they have every right to do it. Yep. But if you're Chris Curtis and you're Kelvin Gastelum, you're like, that's bullshit. I think Chris Curtis actually came out and said it was bullshit. So
he did.
And I don't blame him. But I think that. Curtis against Gastelum, that's a tremendous fight.
Great fight.
Oh, tremendous fight. Both
Kelvin
guys.
Coming off some injuries, getting back on track.
Didn't he have his tooth knocked out or something too? He just had to pull out of the fight because of it.
Mm. But I mean, I look forward to that fight. Kelvin's got to use a little bit more of his wrestling against Chris Curtis. If he could try to threaten the takedowns a little bit to use the speed of his hands. Chris Curtis is good. He's got big power, but he's very hittable, and he's not as fast as Kelvin Gastelum with the hands. And before anyone starts coming at me hard in the paint about the whole Kelvin's not as fast as Chris Curtis, go back and watch the fight with him and Izzy. Yeah. He was faster than Izzy. Now, Izzy's got longer arms. A little bit harder for him to get hit.
He had to get inside, and he did a lot of great work.
On the inside.
He used straight punches, which made him fast. Smart.
He's just good.
He is good.
I like him.
He's my Roberto Duran of MMA. That's what I love about Kelvin Gastelum.
When he let me give you guys a little story here. I wasn't really high on him when he first came into the sport. I think for me, I was a little bitter about the fact that he never made weight. I'm like, bro, just go up to 85 or fucking hire a nutritionist, man. It kind of rubbed me raw. I'm like, dude, every time you're supposed to fight at welterweight, you never make the weight. And I just started kind of bugging me a little bit like how Cumshot does, or Hamzat, I mean. Those type of things bother me, man. I'm like, geez. If you're going to go down in weight, make the weight. Then he started fighting well. He started fighting at 85. I'm like, bro, you're so good. You're a fantastic fighter. I just never got to see him fight at welterweight and when I did, you knew that he came in overweight, so it kind of kills the luster. Did you win because you came in 4 or 5 pounds heavy? But then, after you started having a lot of success, started winning some fights at middleweight, I'm like, and then I met him. I'm like, you are such a nice guy. Just the salt of the earth kind of nice guy. Fantastic person. Just you talk to him. He's so soft spoken, so easygoing, such a great person. And I had to get that off my chest because it was I felt like, man, people don't realize you develop different friendships and relationships in the sport when you actually meet somebody.
Sure.
You didn't like them maybe in the beginning. Then you met them and you saw their fights and they were changed weight classes, or you saw them grow as a fighter. And you're like, okay, look, now, all right, that one fight.
Or you loved them. Then you met him and you went, I hate this guy.
Yeah, that's true as well. That's happened a lot, to be honest. But then, you saw a fight where they fucking bit down on their mouthpiece or they fought out of a submission or whatever it was. They showed you their fucking dog and you're like, you know what? I'm going to watch you next time. Then you see them progressively just start getting better. And then you become a fan and then you meet them and they're really nice and they're like, damn. And he's a great person. Met Chris Curtis in L.A. at the CBS show for Bellator. Really funny. So fucking funny, man. He had me laughing the whole time we were chatting. So we got to get him on the show after this fight, hopefully. Next fight.
We got Michelle Waterson Gomez against Luana Pinheiro. That is actually a really good fight. I love Michelle Waterson, and I think she's so talented. And, she's obviously the whole moniker of the karate hottie, and she had really good kicks and everything and stuff, but her ground game's good. She's got a good ground game. She's just a well-rounded fighter, but she's going up against a up-and-coming stud here. This is a tough fight.
I love Michelle. Good. She the way she throws her spinning kicks, the way she throws her side kicks. I love all of that. But when you do that, it's a lot of energy.
Yep.
And trying to avoid that takedown, trying to avoid being pressed against the fence, trying to avoid not getting hit as you start to slow down because you throw so many of those things. That's where she kind of has faltered in her career, but she's fantastic, man. She's gotten so much better at her wrestling, her grappling, all of her transitions, her takedowns. Everything is a lot better. She's a full complete fighter, man. When she first came into it, it was all just taekwondo or kickboxing or karate style kicking and punching and everything. Now she's putting it all together. She's a fantastic fighter. Is there any other of these fights you want to talk about on here, John?
Nope.
I want to give one person a little shout because her and her husband actually lived with me for a while when they were teaching at my gym. I call her Jackie, but Jackie Amarin. So her and her husband, her ex-husband, I should say now, they used to teach for me at my gym called Knox, and she's fantastic. I think she won the LFA title in jiu-jitsu, or not in jiu-jitsu, but in fighting there. So she had actually reached out to me about managing her for a little bit when she first started her MMA career. She's a fantastic jiu-jitsu player. She is nasty. She's a tiny little thing, but she's fantastic, man. Her jiu-jitsu she's got a long ways to go on her stand-up, and she's got some work to do, but she's really good. When she hits the ground, I would put her right up there with Mackenzie Dern in terms of her level of grappling. Right up there with Mackenzie Dern. So
that's saying a whole lot there, mister.
It is. Well, she was young. So we'll look at her very first Black Belt Worlds tournament. She got cheated in the finals, basically. And you watch the video, it was actually so public that they were like just fucking, everyone was ranting and rave about it. How she got cheated out of her gold medal in the finals for that. Anyways, she is a fantastic jiu-jitsu player. She's awesome. But I would put her up after that. She never competed again, I think, in the Worlds. And then she went straight to MMA. Started fighting after that. I think COVID had something to do with that too. Just like, hey, I'm done with jiu-jitsu. They weren't doing tournaments at the time. And, and just... So, but yeah, keep an eye on her. She's got good jiu-jitsu, and take a look at that match.
Should be good. To see.
Congratulations to her making it to the UFC.
Absolutely.
All right, let's see. Let's go PFL. PFL is coming up, and those of you guys from last week, we didn't talk about it in the middle of the week because we really just forgot. I have to be honest with you guys. I can't lie to you guys. We didn't talk about the PFL last week in the middle of the week, and that's on our bad. So we're making it up to you guys. We're talking about it this week. So
there you go.
But we did talk about it the post show. We did talk about it in a post show. So, but this fight right here, Julia Budd versus Larissa Pacheco. John, what do you think, bud?
I'll tell you what. I thought Larissa Pacheco put on a great performance against Kayla Harrison. She got the win. That was a big thing. She'd already had 2 losses against her, and because of the tournament, she may have never gotten that fight again. But because of the way they do their season, she fought her way to it. Great job. She's good. She's got a very good ground game. She'll stand and bang with anybody, and I look at Julia. I love Julia Budd as a person. She's just a sweetheart of a person. Physically, she can be dominant. It's up here and a confidence factor and a belief factor. Her husband is Lance Gibson Sr., and he's got nothing but confidence in her, but that sometimes just does not cross over into her performances. She loses. She ends up, and she does exactly what I used to do when I was competing and stuff. She worries so much about losing that she doesn't compete at the level she can compete at times.
Yeah.
One of her best performances I ever saw was against Cyborg when she lost, because at least she was going after her. And that's what she needs to do in this fight. If Julia Budd goes after Larissa Pacheco, she can win that fight. Go after her with a vengeance. Don't worry about losing. Don't worry about anything she does. Worry about what you do. Do that, and you can win this fight. Go in there and try to just let me sneak out, the rounds. You're gonna end up losing.
So right before she fought Cyborg, I was on Rogan's show, and it was actually that week, and I had talked about how Julia Budd is the better technician. She's the better stand-up fighter than Chris Cyborg.
Okay.
She is. But when somebody doesn't respect your power and you get flustered every time you get hit, and it doesn't matter how good your technique is. No. It doesn't matter if you are on paper the better kickboxer. The bottom line is, if someone's not afraid to take your shot because you're not committed to throwing your power shots, then it doesn't matter how good your kickboxing is. And Chris Cyborg proved that. And so when I look at Larissa Pacheco, I don't think will be concerned with Julia Budd's power. She's not going to be concerned with what she brings to the table. Larissa Pacheco is going to walk right through whatever Julia Budd wants to do, and she's going to throw big punches, big strikes, and she's not afraid to go to the ground with her either.
No.
And when you look at her fight against Kayla Harrison, she didn't care. It's like, okay, I'm down. Okay, to get myself back up, get to the top position, do some work, do some damage.
She does all the right things to get herself back up. Yep. She works hard. She makes the person in the top position work to try to hold her there. She's good.
Yeah. Julia Budd, I agree with. I basically just ditto everything that you said. Mentally, she's got to make the adjustment and just turn the switch and say, you know what? Fuck it. Whatever happens, happens.
Bingo. That's
and
it.
If you can't do that, there's the thing, John, at her age, what is she, 40, 41? At that age?
She's right at 39, 40.
30, she's somewhere in there, Julia Budd. I think she's 39. So 39 years old, it's hard to get someone to mentally just flip that switch at 39 years old.
Yeah.
Because they understand they've slowed down. They've understand that it's not what it was when they were 26, 28, 31, 34, whatever it is. Larissa Pacheco don't give a shit. And so, but this to me is Larissa Pacheco is also in a gotcha fight.
Yeah.
This is one of those fights where you look like, I just beat Kayla Harrison. This fight, I can beat her. No big deal. Come out there, probably didn't train as hard.
Again, this is what we were talking about when we were talking about the PFL last week. Every time they have somebody that wins their tournament, gets that, belt that you're the season winner, but you're not their champion. They take that person and they put them in a tough fight in the first go every time.
Yeah, it's a tough go, but I think it depends on how Pacheco decided to train for this fight. Did she take Julia Budd serious? Is she like, I just beat Kayla Harrison, man? Like, that was the toughest fight in this organization. I just beat her, and I'm the champ, but not really the champ, because now we're starting a new tournament. I'm good. I just made $1 million. That's the other thing, John. Like, we've seen fighters in Bellator after they've won, they're not the same anymore.
Yep.
Douglas Lima.
They reached that pinnacle.
Yeah, Douglas Lima. He just hasn't had much success since beating Roy McDonald for the $1 million in the tournament. And here we are now with Larissa. Does she take her lightly, or does she get the work done? That's what we're going to find out. Does she stay hungry? That's the thing. Next fight.
Bruno Capoloza against Mateus Shuffle, who had a fantastic season last year. He really came on. He looked good throughout. He lost, in the finals and stuff, but this is a good match I really like. I thought in watching Capoloza in his stand-up, he's good. He's entertaining. He's got power.
Yep.
I look at, to me, he's the favorite in this fight, but Mateus really came on last year and really showed improvements in his game. So not as easy a fight as it would have been in prior ones. You got one guy that's really coming on, and we're going to see which Bruno comes out there, because he was a world beater in one season, then the next season he had some issues with guys. So we're going to see where he's at.
John, Scheffel is talented. He's got a lot of, but I see the growth like you see the growth. I think he's got a lot of potential to continue to win, to carry on. But I go back to, you were in the finals, you came up short. Those are the fighters that are now hungry.
Should be.
I think, I lost it.
You were right. You were that close.
Yep. And I don't see the same thing in Capello's that I saw in him 2 years ago, whatever it was, right after they came back after COVID. So we'll see. Jorgen De Castro, speed, power, heavy hands. Just comes aggressive.
But Goltsov.
Come aggressive.
Goltsov's not bad.
He's good. No, he's good.
Not bad. But he's got to get through maybe a round and a half of putting up with the power of Jorgen De Castro, who's definitely he's got fast hands and heavy hands.
Yeah.
So
when you see an issue with PFL, what's the issue that you see? Do you see any issues with them? Give me the top issue that you think. Let me start. Let me start to get on the way. I've seen Scheffel and Capelloza fight now in their tournaments for probably the last 3 years. Same guys.
That's what I would have told you. Is you just had the start, and they already put Chris Wade and Bubba Jenkins together, and you're seeing these redos of fights that you go, it's about, and this is where rosters, you can only carry so many people that you can actually get those fights for and stuff. So that's why the UFC's roster is amazing at 600 650 people. So you don't have that same thing. Well, when you've got a roster of 180 to 200 people, I don't even know if they have that. That's where you'll get that. You get a lot of redos, So it's something that they've got to try to work within. But sometimes it's not easy because there's nowhere else for you to put the guy in getting the fight or the girl. So
next fight,
Heenan Ferreira against Rizvan Kuniev. I'm being honest. I've watched Kuniev fight one time. Good. I've watched Heenan Ferreira fight one time. Good. Different in the way they approach the fight. It'll be an interesting heavyweight fight. You just never know because of the power. Kuniev got way better wrestling than Ferreira. We're going to see what's going to happen.
John, I'll be honest. I haven't seen either one of these guys.
Never seen either one.
Neither one of them.
That's all right.
Neither one of them.
I
have seen the next one. I've seen both these ladies fight.
Yeah. Okay. And this is my point. Here you got Aspen Ladd, has done well in her career, done well in the PFL and stepping in, going against Olena. Let's be honest. Olena, as far as stand up, it's okay. 0 ground game.
0.
Not good at all. And you look and you go, here's the difference when you look at the Pacheco versus Bud fight. I'm not saying that Larissa can't get rid of her. She could, but it's going to be a tough one. So we'll say that she gets a decision win. 3 points. Aspen Ladd's going to get rid of her in the first round. 6 points.
Yep.
And that's where they do this. And I go, it just doesn't seem right. There has to be at least a ranking to put them in that way.
The other thing, though, is Alina really 145?
I doubt it. Pretty big.
She's tiny.
She was heavy the last time she fought at 155.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I
think take a look. Did she not fight at 155 in her last? Look at weight 155.
It's this weight.
Yeah.
That's usually when the last weight in.
Yep.
She's also tall.
John, I'm thinking of the other. The one that used to fight for Bellator, the good kickboxer.
Oh, you're thinking of Marina.
Marina. Yeah, she was from Poland, all right, I think.
No, Russia.
Where was she from? Russia? Okay.
Russia.
Yeah, she was a really good kickboxer, but I'm like, she was tiny. Okay. I mean, Aspen Ladd should get her out of there, you're saying, like within the first round?
Should. She's smart. Take the fight to the ground.
All right. Any other fights on this card you want to talk about?
As I look.
I like Amber Leibrock. She's a tough fighter. She fights out of the San Jose area, so
good
she's
stand
fantastic. She's got that win over what was her name?
Does she have a win over Janae Harding?
Click on her name. No, Leibrock to the right. Oops. Yep, there you go. So glad you're paying attention. No, the girl that came from the UFC. Scroll down. No,
Wait.
that was right, Dave.
You had it right.
Rock.
Okay, let's
I was
see
on
her
her
record.
and you said it wasn't.
Okay.
Scroll down.
Let's
I didn't
scroll.
say it.
I said scroll.
There you
Scroll.
go. She beat. Who did she beat?
She beat Janae Harding, like I said.
She beat. She beat Janae Harding. Scroll down more. What's the name? God, who was? Oh, maybe she didn't. I thought it was a different. Scroll back up. And
She beat
am I-
Marina
who am I
Shafir,
thinking?
who was a judo player, Ronda Rousey's friend.
Nope. I don't know. I must be thinking of. I thought she beat somebody else, but she didn't. Jessica Borga lost to Megan. Oh, interesting.
She's on a
All right.
3-fight win streak, so that's good for her because she had some problems when she was in Bellator.
Yeah. She's good, though. She's tough. She's gritty. She comes forward. She's got a good push kick. She just keeps
She's
walking
long
you down.
and she's got good stand up. But
Tall,
again,
long, and lanky.
the ground is
tall,
not her
long.
friend.
No, definitely not. All right, well, hey, that's going to wrap up our PFL talk. Dave, when's this show on? Friday night?
PFL is on the 7th, which is 5, 6, 7. Yep, Friday.
Friday night. UFC is on
Quick
Saturday
answer.
night pay-per-views.
Yeah.
Yep.
And is there anything else you got for us, Dave? Any news?
Yeah, so I got one more thing to wrap up on. It came
Let's
out.
go.
It came out while we were filming. So I got to pose this question to you guys: is Francis asking for too much? Because the Bkfc president came out and said, David Feldman said that they're not doing a deal with Francis because they feel like he's asking for unrealistic money.
Well,
Yeah.
I can tell you this. I'm not going to sit there and say what Francis is asking for. But David Feldman is a guy that he'll give a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, France is asking for a lot of money. And he's asking for a lot of freedoms and things like that. And look, that's his right to do that.
Mhm.
But this is what happens is, and this is where it hurts to a point, is you do all this good work and you become a champion and then you get this ability to be on the free agent market and you say, well, this is my value. And then you have someone like David Feldman saying, no, it's not. And that hurts.
Here's the thing. People have managers because fighters get involved, but they believe in what their value is.
That's bad.
It's always higher than what the reality is. And that's why majority of people have managers also, so they don't have to deal with the matchmakers and the promoters talking shit to them, because if you were to actually listen in on some of the shit that they say about you, it's not good. It's not good. It's their job to downplay you when it comes contract time, but then they talk you up when it's fight time. After they've got the deal done with you, you're the greatest fighter that ever lived. David Feldman is someone that will obviously pay. I mean, I heard. Look, we talked to Eddie Alvarez. He's like, man, so I don't know if I'm gonna fight. Like, he's like, it's like being a stripper and going full nude. He's like, I don't think so.
What's
Look
wrong
where
with
he's
going
at
full
now.
nude?
It depends. It depends on your moral compass. But obviously, John doesn't have one. So,
Thank you very much.
but look at where Eddie Alvarez is now, coming up.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's like, hey, the pay is there. There's absolutely pay there.
Yep.
So best of luck to Francis. But I remember what I said. I said this before he left the UFC. You better have that contract
That was the
with
mistake.
Tyson Fury in hand.
That was the mistake.
Because this is the one time, not the one time, I've agreed with Dana White several times, is that you either want to fucking fight or you don't. Because now that you've got a guy who's willing to pay a lot of money, and like someone like David Feldman, who's willing to pay a lot of money, and Dana White was willing to pay him a lot of money, and you're still not wanting to fight, what do you want? Be real. You obviously right now don't want to fight. Whatever that is, you don't want to fight. No one's going to pay you that amount of money, because it seems like these are the two guys that one has the deepest pockets to pay you the most, and the other one is willing to pay you the most. These other promotions, PFL and Bellator and ONE, they ain't paying you that. They don't want to pay you that much. So,
Well,
I'm interested to see where he's going to go.
no matter what, when you're a promoter, you got to look and say, what's my return?
Yeah.
And you have to have a return on your investment, because that's a big investment. So we're going to find out where Francis lands.
All right, guys. Hey, that's going to wrap up our show for our midweek show. Go to WayneInMerch.com, pick up some of our hoodies and our sweatshirts and short sleeves. It's been beautiful outside today. I'd say it's like in the 65, 68, but it feels nice because there's no clouds in the sky and the sun is beating down on us. So pick up all that merch at WayneInMerch.com. And also go to onlyfans.com/Waynein. It's free. Subscribe to us. It is free. Subscribe to us there at onlyfans.com/Waynein. You guys can submit your fan questions there. You guys, if you guys hit us up in the DMs, whatever it is you guys would like to see. I'm not showing you my butthole, okay? But you can request some other things. You guys want to know some techniques? You let me know. You guys want to talk to Big John about something? He won't show you his butthole either.
I will not.
But
You don't want to see it.
but we'll love to engage with you guys more on that platform. And John, take us away, bud.
65. It's cold where you're at. 80 degrees here, baby. 80.
Jeez, man.
That's right, man. Nice and toasty. For everyone out there, thank you for listening, and we will see you.